Hello, future people. Welcome to Getting Tabled. I'm Jason the Bruce, and today we're going to be checking out Sideshow Slaughter for Don't Look Back. This is another thing that I've actually been holding on to for quite a while. For those of you that haven't been here for very long, this is a game I discovered a couple of years ago. This is a game we've been talking about on the podcast quite regularly of late because they're in the middle of launching their second edition this year. And we've kind of been following how that has been going. It's been going really well. This is one of the expansions for the original edition. So as part of this video, I'm going to talk briefly about how they're going to go about updating all of these. But all of these are compatible with the new version of the games. They will just be updated to make them a little bit better, basically. But we're going to have a look at the contents, and I'll talk to you probably quite a bit about why I love this game. All right, and here we are with Sideshow Slaughter. I've said this a number of times on these unboxings. I love the style of these cases. This is legitimately an old VHS case. Well, I say old. It is actually a new one. It's just that you don't buy these and you can't get these anymore. But I love these. I've actually been organising to get custom foam made for all of these as well as part of like a little collection so that they're all housed in the expansion that they come with. Probably a waste because, I mean, I could fit multiples in, but it's just so much fun when they come like this. And it's kind of styled after the way that the old horror movies used to come. Like, this wear is all part of the artwork and everything. It's just gorgeous. And, like, the horror, like, this was so common back in the 80s and the 90s. They would always end up like this. It's just so fun. Now, obviously, for horror fans, most people, when it comes to an evil clown, are going to be thinking of It. Just depends on how you think about it, I suppose. But, I like this. Northwood hasn't seen a carnival in over 2 decades. Something happened all those years ago that people in suburbs are still reluctant to talk about. Recently, some younger locals have been talking about hearing the sounds and seeing the lights of the small carnival off Route 72, just north of the Sealy Line crossing. Others say it's just a figment of their imagination. I also love the fact that they do this. It's actually, like, it's not just a thing of, yes, this is the person that packed your order, but it's just so much more fun. All right, so there's 2 cards that come in this. I'm going to start with the expansion rules. Expansion rules. Game booths. Randomly determine which booths represent the strength test, ring tossed, and balloons and darts. Players may benefit from encourage, concentrate, and may use luck points for the game. Only 2 characters may be at the same game at the same time. So this is very much themed around the actual carnival. Strength test. A character may take a long action to play the strength test and make a combat skill test. If the roll is successful, the character wins a round for the strength test. In order to beat the strength test, a single character must win 2 rounds. If the combat roll is failed, the character loses the round. If character has a combat value of 10 or more, they also take 2 injuries and 1 terror as the game takes a turn on them. Ring toss. A character may take a long action to play the ring toss and roll a d10. If the roll is a 10, the character wins the round. In order to beat the ring toss game, a total of 3 games must be won between the characters. The bonus from encourage and concentrate may be added to the d10 roll. Instead of rolling, a character may spend a point of luck before the d10 is rolled to automatically succeed. If the d10 roll is failed, the character loses the round. If the character has a luck value of 1 or less, they also gain 2 points of terror as they have to look at what is swimming in the jars. Balloons and darts. A character may take a long action to play the balloon and darts game and make an awareness skill test. If the roll is successful, the character wins a round. So these are all fairly similar. In order to win, a single character must win 3 rounds. If the awareness test fails, the character loses the round. The character has an awareness value of 10 or more. They also take 2 injuries and 2 terror points as balloons randomly burst. Spraying the characters in horror and filth. Winning. When a character wins a game, they may immediately roll on either the weapons or supply table. That's fun. Very much, there's nothing on the back. Very much themed around what we're doing. Let's have a look at the actual mission. Figment. Inspiration, investigate and banish. Northwood hasn't seen a carnival. Oh, we just read this. Table setup. Set up the table to represent a small carnival or sideshow in the middle of a field. Keeping most of the terrain toward the center of the table, place 1 fright token in the center of sections B and C. So this would be A, B, C, D, for example. So you would have 1 in the center of there, 1 in the center of there. Place a car within 4 inches of the outer corner of section A, so that's literally where the table is. Place all characters in contact with the car. Point of interest. Place a point of interest along the center of the boundary between each table section. So that's what these are. They represent bundles of balloons. We have 14 turns, so we do actually have a decent amount of time to actually do this. Special rules. Will him away. As a long action, a character within 2 inches of Booger, which is our bad guy, may try and will him away. Roll a d20. If the result is less than the character's terror points, they will Booger away, as he counts as having been driven off. Come one, come all. If Booger has not been conjured by the end of the fright phase on turn 3, immediately place him in the center of the light token in the center of the table. In the center of the table. Yep. Balloons. To investigate balloons, characters roll under combat and not awareness. When a balloon token is successfully investigated, the investigating character gains 1 point of terror. Booger immediately becomes enraged if on the table. Bonk 3000. When Booger makes a successful attack with its attack number 1, the character is moved directly away from Booger 3 inches and trips. Booger's attack number 1 does not cause bleeding. Lights. 1 light token is placed in the center of the table. We've already seen that. That probably should have been up here somewhere, given that we're already talking about that earlier. The objective. Characters need to will Booger away before the end of turn 14, and at least 2 characters have to have made it back to the car, back into contact with the car. Has a themed killer, so his MO is lunge, his visage is familiar, his traits is daywalker and dead eyes. You're welcome to look those up later. Sounds like a lot of fun. It's very, very much themed around a carnival. It's not just a rip-off of it. It's very much its own thing. It's very much a creepy circus type vibe, which is what you want. There's actually a second one on the back of this. This is a 2-sided one. So the second one is Step Right Up, and it's Complete and Banish. This starts off essentially the same, but the sound and lights are captivating. You can't go home until you win a prize. Booger insists. All around the carnival are various tests of skill. Step right up and test your might. You'll need luck to survive the night. That's fun. So table setup is kind of very similar. There's no specific points of interest on this one. Set the table up to present a small carnival or Sideshow in the middle of a field. Place the game booth or other similar terrain feature approximately 4 by 3. So this is 4 inches by 3 inches. This is the size of the terrain that they're recommending. In the center of tables B, C, and D. So, place a car within 4 inches of the outer corner. So that's the same as before. Place all characters in contact with the car. So again, that part is the same. No specific points of interest, but this time we only have 12 turns. Special rule. Step right up. Yeah. Characters must make at least one full move action towards a game booth, if able, each activation until they are in contact with a game booth. So you can't resist, basically. This rule stays in effect until at least 2 carnival games have been won. Delighting in distraction. Characters only benefit from a +1 bonus from the encourage and concentrate action. So you're distracted, basically. Captivating. Once a character is in contact with a game booth, they cannot move away until the game is won. Characters may still be moved with abilities and other special rules like Baby Blues. Bonk 3000. When Booger makes a successful attack with its attack number 1, target is moved directly away from Booger 3 inches, so this is the same as before. Lights. At the start of turns 1 to 3, players may place a light token in contact with any game booth. Okay, yep. Objective. Players need to beat at least 2 of the carnival games and then drive off Booger before the end of turn 14. So one of these is an error. I would probably be suggesting... My suggestion would be is that you stick with this unless you want it to be a little bit more difficult. If you want a challenge, I would go down to this. Unless there is something on the website that says otherwise. And it looks like this is all the same for the themed killer. Yep, it's all the same. Bases wise, fairly straightforward. We have one larger one, which is for Booger, and 3 smaller ones, which is for the balloons that he comes with. So we're starting off with the balloons. There's no real particular reason why. I just figured we'd start here. Balloons are, I mean, at first glance, probably something you would think are pretty easy, but they're not really things that you see very often, honestly. So these are obviously our bunches of balloons, because that's going to be very important for the scenario. They actually do come on, well, essentially, sculpted flight bases. Very, very simple. That's not a bad thing. Quite a bit of flashing in this. Doesn't necessarily surprise me, given the nature of it's a very small cast, so it doesn't really surprise me that we've got some flashing in here. It's very thin too, so this is going to be very easy to clean up. Like, that's just me with my finger, and it's basically just going. You can see through it. That's how thin it is. I think the little balloon dog is the highlight here, because how could it not be? It literally looks like a balloon dog. Though, given that this is 28mm, it's quite a large balloon dog. Given the size of these balloons, I think it's quite fair that these would scare you when they pop. And, of course, we have Booger. Now, Booger actually comes with a sculpted base. This isn't entirely common for these guys, but I do really like it. Yeah, it's been designed in a way that, I mean, you could very easily miss this because by the look of those feet, they are even, so you could put this on any base you wanted. But I actually quite like the base, honestly. Looking at the details of the Mini, it's just gorgeous. It's very, very classical Jester Clown. Like, the body in and of itself doesn't look very creepy, like just the body in and of itself. But the size of that hammer, or mallet, that is very clearly meant to represent the hammer at the strength test. And let's be honest, the head is all kinds of creepy. See if we can get a little bit closer. Nice. Big clown nose. Evil grin. I'm loving the look of this. Like, the frills in particular, the casting on this is brilliant. I assume that this is Ben's sculpting work. Most of their miniatures are Ben's sculpting work. And if I am right, Ben, this is magnificent. Ben quite frequently talks about how far his sculpting has come since the early days, but I'm sorry, this is just absolutely phenomenal. This is the kit that was being released when I first discovered the game. I waited on purchasing it because I wanted to kind of get a feel for the game before I bought too much. So I'll get off, I'll build this, and I'll come back with my final thoughts. All right, and here we are with we're going to start with our simple builds first because there really is no build in these. First things first, yes, some of these are bent a little bit. There's still a little bit of flashing to come off, but as you can see, I've just kind of put them together so you can see them properly. Honestly, these are really simple but really effective. When it comes to painting, I would probably paint these a light color, make it look like it's supposed to be there, rather than trying to make it invisible because, well, it's meant to be a bunch of balloons. So I would be trying to make that look like string, personally. If you heat these up, you can straighten them back out if you wanted to. I actually kind of like the way that they are. In the case of this one, it's very clear that this is holding the other two down. That first one I showed you is probably the one where you probably want to straighten that up to make it. Because obviously if it's a helium balloon, it's not going to be leaning over like that. But again, I don't kind of mind this because it makes it look wrong, which in the case of a horror game is the way that you would want it to be. I also haven't centered mine perfectly because, well, I don't mind that. This one come out pretty much on point. All of these have turned out really, really nicely, honestly. Like, these are really simple sculpts, but I don't think anybody's going to be surprised when I say that this one is the highlight because, well, we already knew that just by seeing how it was initially. It really is a highlight. It looks gorgeous. But this is the reason why we are here. Booger. And I am sorry, but this guy is phenomenal. Unfortunately, I have had a little bit of slip up with the super glue there. I had to kind of try and thin that out very, very quickly so it didn't ruin the model on me. But I love the way this model looks. Again, like the frilly collar is just perfect. And I quite like the base, honestly. As far as sculpting is concerned, this is magnificent. Like, it really, really is. It's phenomenal. And this might be one of my favourite killers that I've seen from them so far. All right. And now we have the Sideshow Slaughter expansion for Don't Look Back. The fact that I really love this shouldn't really be surprising anybody at this stage. I mean, the models are sculpted really well. There was a little bit of flashing around a couple of them, nothing too bad. Slight warping on the legs on Booger, but you would honestly expect that. That's the way that resin works. Everything about this was absolutely phenomenal. The theme just screams perfect. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk very briefly about going forward. All of the existing expansions are compatible with the new version of Don't Look Back that will be going live later this year. By the time you see this, there should still be 3 or 4 days available if you want to get your hands on the pre-orders for the most recent one. None of this is sponsored. I'm just a big fan of the game. Just straight up, I'm just a very big fan of the game and the company involved. Honestly, it really is worth your time. Going ahead, all of the older expansions will slowly be getting upgrades over time. Those upgrades will be available in the existing product will be updated per se. Those of us that own the old ones will be able to purchase the update pack. I don't know what they're actually calling it, but basically it'll be the updated cards and so forth. Whether we want to do that physically or digitally. They will be offering it both ways. The physical version of that product will not be available forever because it's not something that would be worth keeping forever. Technically, they are completely compatible right now. They will be updating them to make them work better, essentially. That'll be something that we'll cover off over time once they start rolling them out, because I will definitely be upgrading my packs. And you will definitely be seeing more of this because, like I said, I'm a fan. It is also worth noting, Blacksite Studios do have a full range of terrain for the game. There is specific terrain available for this as well. I'm only going to mention this very briefly because in Australia, getting their terrain is very expensive. And this is not something that can be helped. It's just the way that the market is. It's not something that Blacksite Studios can control. But in Australia, Knights of Dice have a full range of circus-themed terrain that is in the exact right scale for this. All you need to do is pick the ones that you like the look of. I will be doing that at some stage before the end of the year to show off to you. I don't know when that's going to be. But honestly, Viv is a fantastic guy. knightsofdice.com.au. I'd highly recommend checking it out. You can find it under their modern and pulp section.